Do unique New York. Unique New York. Alrighty. So hopefully we aren't interrupted by a 23-year-old in need of train, whatever it is that she needs, or a train. So,
train just went by.
Yeah. Good.
All right. Awesome.
We're good.
Well, then we better hurry before the next one comes along.
Probably half hour.
All right. Ready?
Yeah.
Awesome theme music goes in 3, 2, 1.
You're watching Diecast Breakdown with Chuck Ellis, David Johns, and Mark McHotwheel. So sit back, strap in, and hang on. The breakdown starts now.
Hey there, folks. Chuck here, and welcome back. We've got really cool special guests coming. We have got Tony and Carmen Matthews from Diecast Heroes Magazine. It is a super cool interview from some Superfly auto people, so be sure to stick around for that. But yeah, let's dive right in. I am joined, as always, by my co-hosts, Mr. David Johns.
Hey, everybody.
And Mr. Mark McHotwheel.
What's up, Hot Wheel homies?
I was just in the Walmart, or what is it that Honest Diecast calls it? The waste of time?
No, the local disappointment.
The local disappointment. It's been bad for a while, but now it was just like empty.
It's a joke.
Like even the monster trucks, the Jadas, the premiums, it was all wiped out.
I didn't go to Walmart because I saw your photo and I was like, I'm going to avoid that again. Because I went a couple days ago and it was just, there's zero. Like, some of these stores have zero basic cars, and they have nothing else. Everything's picked through. I did go to Walgreens today, nada, and then I went to a Safeway nearby that store, and actually had a bin, but it was some older stuff. And I walked away with a C10 truck, so I got the blue one. I just went to a couple places today. That's all I had the patience for, but it's pretty rough out there. Not gonna lie, pretty rough.
I follow a lot of people who have channels based here in the South where I am, and it's the same deal here. Empty pegs. I've done a little bit of shopping online, and some stuff is coming in from not even across the pond, across several ponds. But other than that, dry to the bone. Same here.
I was talking to a gentleman in New Zealand, Christian Stanland of 1st and 64th Customs, and he was telling me that it's dead over there too. They're out of cars, which I don't know. I don't know what their supply chain level is. Speaking of, I've been meaning to bring this up. Have you seen I think it's going to be in the E-case coming out, the tuned 83 Silverado.
That's pretty cool.
I got to admit, Chuck, tuned cars are not on my radar like they should be. I noticed a couple things this week. Mr. McHotwheel, something right up your alley. Mm-hmm. Mini GT's putting out more of those really cool, slightly bigger than 164 Cato House 510s. They're going to do a wagon.
Yes, I saw that. Yep.
Those pre-sales they're going to be in the seafoam green and the blue.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that.
Have y'all seen, there's a Matchbox playset that is going to be Pizza Hut themed, where you can add a little pizza stanchion to the top of your Matchbox car. It'll come with the VW Current vehicle in the line, but you can add a little Pizza Hut sign to the top.
Wow.
And I guess you can customize other cars to be pizza delivery vehicles. I thought that was neat.
That's cool. Me and my weakness for pizza delivery vehicles.
Yeah, I think we've talked about that in the past.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I have 3 of them now. Have you seen the Fast and Furious Racer's Edge set that's coming out, Mark?
Nope. Is that a pack? Is it like
It's a pack.
Okay, so it's a 5-pack.
It's a 5-pack. It's a 5-pack premium. So you got the Supra, you've got the Impala, the 61 Impala from, I think it was Fast 7. You've got the Ford Escort. I think it's the orange and blue Silvia, and the RX-7. The red one with the rocket engine on the side.
That's the OG Fast and Furious.
Yeah. So I love it because it comes in a license plate shaped box that's got the Racer's Edge logo on it. It says High Performance Auto Parts on it.
Okay. Oh yes, I have seen that. Yep. Yes.
And then on the frame it says "Too Soon, Junior."
Ooh, nice. That's something I would design.
Yeah.
Just the stupid quotes.
I thought of you when I saw that.
Too soon, Junior.
I'm in your face.
I'm in your face. Break the mic.
One that is exciting me, and this one is not up my typical alley because it is very much a full-on quintessential muscle car, a green light, and this is not a new casting, but it's cool what they're doing with it. They are releasing a 1970 Dodge Challenger Hemi, but it's a very special car. And what is special about it, it is called the Black Ghost. And if you don't know about the Black Ghost, there's a really cool documentary on, I think Haggerty made it. Haggerty made the documentary about it.
I've seen it.
And I don't know, are you familiar?
Oh, yeah. I've seen it. The guy that used to drag race up and down.
Yeah. He is one of these people that I think is one of the coolest people in car culture. And his name was Godfrey Qualls. He was a Vietnam War veteran, became a motorcycle cop.
Yeah.
He was an adrenaline junkie type dude. And then he got back from Nam and was like, hey, I'm going to buy myself like the best car I can get. And so he went down to the dealership and he basically ticked every single box. He wanted this car all black, got the Gator vinyl top, which is incredible. So it's black on black on black. He added these really cool Africa stickers underneath the Challenger logo. And he lived in Detroit, and he would just show up on Woodward Avenue and destroy any car that came up to him. And then he would just drive away.
Yeah.
And so nobody knew who he was for a long time, and they just called it the Black Ghost. His son Gregory has it now. They've kept it pretty much completely original, and it's so cool. That car is getting immortalized in diecast. I will absolutely have that one. So that is like one of my favorite car stories ever. I've seen a few previews of the new Boulevard sets that are coming out and the car culture sets. I saw that the Laurel is coming back, and that's one of my favorite castings.
Matchbox is releasing a mainline you guys will probably like. They're doing a 3000 GT to coincide with Hot Wheels' new casting, and it looks pretty good in black. It gets full tempo, front, back, maybe even something on the side. I think there were 4 passes on the casting on the picture I saw. Looks like it's going to be a really cool mainline.
Any lens aspects to the car, David?
They are indeed lensed. Good question, Mark.
Hot Wheels is going to have an Evan Mach 87 Toyota pickup. I know that's an existing casting. I don't really do the RLCs, but it does look really cool. It's not that I don't want to do the RLCs. I just don't have the energy.
Just let David do that for you and just send you stuff like he does with me. So.
Tell you what, guys,
tradition.
For any of our listeners out there who have not tried to get an RLC, if you are particularly relaxed and would like to add some stress in your life, just
join the club.
Sit down about 10 minutes before an RLC sale goes live.
You know how I can tell when it happens is all of a sudden everything in my Facebook feed goes to all of these people angrily going,
meltdowns.
I couldn't get in. It timed out on me. I was in the queue and it wouldn't let me check out. And then there's like somebody that's like, I just bought 20.
Yep.
And it's super stressful.
Mattel, what are you doing to us? We're already stressed about not having cars in the store.
And what blows my mind are the people, and I'm not to raise everyone's blood pressure more by getting to scalpers, but the fact that as soon as an RLC is announced, there's people pre-selling them for $600 on eBay. And I'm just like,
criminal.
What are we doing? Criminal. Like, you don't even have the car yet. You just
that's like,
but they've got the bots. But they've got the bot. Chuck, they know their bot is going to get in line before you.
Exactly. So
you silly humans.
I don't often resort back to the "Hey guys, this is for kids" thing, but I'm like, really, what
are we doing here?
Just thinking about what it would be like to be a kid and go, "Oh man, I'd like to be a member of the RLC."
These toys aren't for kids, Chuck. These toys are not for kids.
We are kids.
These toys are not for
kids of all
ridiculous.
ages.
Ridiculous to say, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just a weird time to be in the hobby, and between the empty shelves and the elevated prices online.
If you guys aren't finding cars out there, it's a good thing that there's Diecast Breakdown.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. You can listen to us complain about not finding cars.
Because it's so entertaining.
I think it's going to be short-lived. It was funny. I was talking to my New Zealand friend and Christian, and he was like, why don't you just go ask Hot Wheels why we're not getting cars? And I was like, that's a good point. We have a show now. We could be like, hey, we're a member of the automotive paparazzo
Illuminati.
We are the media elites of this hobby.
That's right.
Hey, explain it to me.
Hey, what's up with you, Mattel? Give me my cars.
We just lost our one Italian viewer.
Yeah, they're like, They're already angry. Just made them angrier.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Amanda Ferrari has stopped listening.
Oh, yeah.
So, did you hear about that? JDC and Amanda are expecting
Twins.
Yep, that's pretty awesome.
Twinsies.
Yep, so, yeah. Now I'll have an excuse to buy doubles of every diecast.
It's okay. So, they've got a reason behind it.
I guess you don't need a reason. I buy doubles of everything too.
It's true.
And then I don't even do the whole one to open, one to keep on the card. I open them both.
That's different.
That's right.
I was just
one to hack up and one is a backup when I hack it up and get it wrong.
yeah, like I did a couple days ago. I don't know if you guys saw my tutorial video. Kimber did her first wheel swap.
Yeah.
And I broke the spoiler off of it.
Mark did some modifications on the front spoiler there.
Yeah, it's a process. I haven't taken one of the older castings apart in a while. You got to crack it from the back first, and that's you can break.
Is that what you do, Chuck? Do you just rip the front bumper off when you
that's how
start
a good way to
working
start.
on a custom?
Usually, I try to do as much damage as possible before getting into my custom.
It's only uphill from there.
You get all the mistakes out of the way first.
Yeah, it's very effective. I do that approach too.
Looks like it's my turn in the hot seat here, so we'll turn this over to David. He's going to put the big
all right, guys.
light in my
so
eyes and...
let's do this. Mr. Ellis, are you ready for the 5 diecast breakdown questions?
I know, the 5-pack. All right, I'm going to run through it.
All right, 5-pack indeed. First one, same one for everybody. Tell us a little bit about how you got started in collecting.
My earliest recollection of diecast cars actually comes from my grandmother's house. They had a basket of toys, and I don't know exactly where they came from because these were toys that were too old for me, but too new to have been my mom or my aunt's cars. But there were several 70s Matchboxes in there, some super fast, like the Rough Rabbit. And it was a yellow Volkswagen Rabbit with 4x4 wheels on it. Nice. I thought that one was the coolest thing. And I had, I was a huge Herbie fan as a kid, had a green dune buggy, also from Matchbox. I had the big engine on the back with a big scoop going up the top. It had like T-tops, and I had a little beetle, like an actual insect-like beetle with tires on it or something on the hood. And I thought that one was really cool. My dad and mom, their first brand new car that they bought was a 1984 Dodge Caravan. My dad was so excited because there was a Matchbox casting that looked just like their car, and it had an opening, like you could reach in with your finger. There was no glass in the door, and you could pull it out and slide the door open.
Sliding,
because that was that was such an innovative thing back then. Like that was such a big deal because it was just a little piece of plastic in there, and I was 4 years old. And he was not thrilled. So he got another one. He found another one. And then that one sat up high on a shelf in our family room for years, and I could not touch it. And I had just look at it. And I had the broken one, and I wanted that. I wanted that one so bad. So I could just look at it. But yeah, so that's probably also where my affinity for that malaise 70s and 80s kind of stuff comes from, because that was like, for our family, it was like having the realistic miniatures. Like I said, we had Hot Wheels too. We had some majorettes too. Between my brother and I, probably 500 or 600 cars as kids, and we would make shoebox cities. My mom actually, when I had my daughter, she gave me, they had our old blocks up in the attic and brought them down, and they still had the blocks where we drew windows and doors on stuff to make buildings for our cities, for our cars. We had the Hot Wheels City, that fold up clamshell thing that had the little S loop that would go down. I bought one, and the reason I bought it is because I found out that Second Chance Redlines sells the stickers to restore them. So I was very excited. I'm going to do a restoration on one, and I don't know. I might do a restoration. I might do a restoration plus on it just because I'm really excited about it, and I might find some ways to add some realism to it. I don't know. We'll see. And that was where I got into the kind of accessorizing of it too, the setting a scene, building a city. I loved the tracks a lot, but I also once a car started getting beat up, I played with it less. And yeah, which is why we ended up with so many. But
ruined.
Yeah.
It's got chip in the
I know.
Sound like Hewitt's.
This is the exactly.
Man, it's chips. This thing's toast. Come on, man. Come on, guys.
Come on, man. Thank you very much.
Elvis.
That's Elvis cool stuff. If you like 80s and 70s style casting, those aren't Those don't seem like they'd be readily available on the peg. So where does Chuck Ellis shop for his diecast?
I have been pleasantly surprised that there's been more stuff coming on the pegs. I was probably the only person super excited that they brought back the 82 Rampage. The Hot Wheels brought that back. I am very much a fan of the hunt in secondhand stuff, antique shops, flea markets, thrift shops. Not so much thrift shops these days. It has been months since I usually go to 2 or 3 thrift shops a week since I've seen any diecasts in a thrift shop. Because I think people have caught on to that, or people are selling them through other methods. They're usually pretty picked over, but every now and then you get lucky. I do buy on eBay. I have a lot of alerts set on eBay. I did my first Mercari purchase the other day, Mark.
I'm so proud of you growing up so fast.
So I know. And it was funny because it was somebody on a Facebook group was selling a bunch of Lucy green lights.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, how does this work? This seems really shady. And the guy was like, oh, no, we'll do it through Mercari. I'll list it on Mercari and you buy it there. So I set up on Mercari. It took 2 seconds. Mm-hmm. If you got a PayPal account, it's super easy. This is not sponsored yet. Mercari, please talk to me. And yeah, I bought, I think, 6 different cars. Mm-hmm. And those were all green. Greenlight has really come a long way if you love 70s and 80s cars. And that was actually, it was Greenlight that got me back into collecting, but that's another story.
I'm going to play a game here with Chuck. It's guess these cars, because it's what he was just talking about. These just scream Chuck to me. So I'm just going to show you these real quick.
That is a AMC Gremlin, 1970, I believe.
Yeah, and that's
is the Johnny Lightning casting.
Yeah, for the people that are just listening in. And then here, I give you a quick look at this one. These are all Johnny Lightning, by the way, so you don't have to guess what kind of car they are.
Let's see. It's coming through a little fuzzy. It looks like.
Okay,
is that a?
There we go.
Yeah, looks like a Pontiac.
Yep, I don't even know, to be honest with you. Didn't even.
It looks like a Pontiac Catalina, I would say.
Yeah, it is a Catalina. Pontiac.
Wow.
It's a 61, I think. Yeah, 61.
And the train horn means you double your points.
It does.
You get the train horn bonus.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the last one here. And this one, I think, is right up your alley as well.
That one is one that I have in my collection, actually. That is...
No lens headlights, though. Sorry, David.
Yeah, that is a 71 Dodge Charger.
That's 3 for 3, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Obviously, Chuck knows his stuff. You know your cars, Chuck. What is available in diecast and what is not? Mark has a magic wand.
Yeah,
I really wish he would stop ordering that magic wand. There it is.
Yeah.
Now that he's waved it, what is your all-time dream casting that's going to appear on your desk tomorrow morning?
I have messaged Auto World about this.
Oh, he's serious.
Probably 10 or 20 times
today.
I'm like, yeah.
If we could just take it down and be serious here for a moment, folks.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's my fault.
Everyone's head bowed, eyes closed, no one looking around. Auto World released a 1964 Plymouth Barracuda, which is so close to my first car, which is a 1964 Plymouth Valiant, which is where we get Flying Valiant, which is a name that a coworker gave to my car, and I just thought it was cool. The guy said, "Hey, I saw your Flying Valiant today," and I was like, "Oh, that's a cool name." The Valiant was it wasn't a necessarily beloved car, but it was an incredibly popular car. Driving a Valiant, I have so many people come up to me and be like, "Oh yeah, I learned to drive in one of these," or "My mom had one," or "My aunt had one." It was a very popular car with moms, aunts, and grandmas. And I actually got it from a mom, aunt, and grandma. The second owner of this car, classic little old lady drives to church on Sunday car, 49,000 miles, had been just abandoned in a carport in Florida for at least a decade. And they ended up giving it to me for free because they were like, it saves us the trouble of towing it off for scrap.
So I love free 50.
But yeah, the 64 Plymouth Valiant would absolutely be that. I think all of us have the dream of one day cornering someone at Hot Wheels and being like, "Hey, make my car." My realistic Holy Grail hunt car right now is, there was a Lincoln Continental in the Fresh Cherries series. I think it was a 74 Lincoln Continental, and that's my That's my white whale actual car that I hunt for. Just because the only times I've seen it, there's usually just one or two that'll show up on eBay, and they're between 60 and 80 bucks. I like the Fresh Cherry series a lot.
What would you say has changed the most for you in just the last 2 years? What do you think you focused on during these last couple of years? Because I think we've all kind of shifted in our collecting and modifying cars. What shifted the most for you during this?
More exploration in customization, for sure. When I mean I was gone from it for a while, like I was gone. Like I didn't pay any attention to it. I didn't visit the toy aisle. It was like, but that's because I built a lot of model cars. I shifted into the 125th scale models. I built a lot of those and loved those a lot. And then it came time to restore the Valiant, and my world was at that point eBay, Craigslist, car shows, to look for parts, spend a lot of time in junkyards. So miniatures took a complete backseat to that project. And then when it was done, I started looking around again. That was 2017 when I finished. I didn't really start collecting again until 2019. And that was when I saw the car on the shelf, and I was like, oh, this is really interesting. And then I started kind of remembering like the Fresh Cherry series or the American Graffiti series and going, I wonder what else is out there. Yeah. And discovered all of the stuff that I had missed growing up.
Let me ask you this one, and we'll do this one rapid fire format. So I want you to just rattle them off as they pop in your head.
Oh, gosh.
Top 5 favorite castings, go.
All right. I've got some visual aids here. I've got the 1981 Aries K-Car. This is the black 1974 Torino Stalker.
Yep.
Chuck is showing a midnight black Stalker.
Yes, it's got a really cool arrow setup with a number 3 on the side. You got orange, yellow, and white stripes on it. It's got sponsor tampos on it. It is a very cool casting. So that is 2. I have recently gotten into Zilmixes. This is my favorite Zilmix. It is a 73 Chevelle Laguna. We are about to get one from Greenlight that I'm very excited about.
Red in color.
Red.
He's spinning it. Turning
it is
it.
red. Yes.
There's stripes
it's
on the
got
top.
427 on the hood, which is funny because that car never had a 427 in it. My brother had one of these. My grandma had one of these. Again, everyone in my family has had a diecast but me, including my wife, who has a Subaru Crosstrek that I was able to get in the exact color and year as hers.
Short change.
Another one to represent my movie and TV car obsession. I'm holding up the Greenlight Winnebago from the Walking Dead series. I do not particularly care for that series. That's beside the point.
But
Lost. This is a real deal full. Like, I love Greenlight for finally giving us real deal 1/64th scale RVs. They got this one, the Condor 2 from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. But I'd always loved these Winnebagos because they just look like a train on wheels. And I liked the coloring on this one from the Walking Dead series. And I like that it's got the lived-in look with decals and the broken windshield and stuff. I'm going to cheat a little bit on this one. I am holding up the crushed cars from the Monster Truck series that recently came out, and I adore these. If you are not familiar, some of the packages have goofy silicone crushed cars or plastic crushed cars, and some of them came with a free diecast. And these are diecasts in every true sense of the word. They're plastic base, but they are metal body. They have full wheels and axles. They roll fantastically. They've got, you can hear that. Listen to that.
Ooh.
They actually roll really nice. And each one, it's funny because if you ever see damaged vehicles, almost always they're going to be fantasy vehicles because no manufacturer wants to license versions of their cars so they're damaged. This one is very clearly a 95 Impala, but they have changed some of the details. Like they've changed the grille and they've changed the taillights. So it's not quite...
Now
so it's not
damaged,
quite that.
For sure.
Now it's damaged. This is very clearly the Hot Wheels custom van, but it's got 4 headlights. They've changed the grill out. And I love these because it's not just like they took the models and smushed them. There's actual gaps in the door. What would happen if the panels were crushed? So the doors are partway open. There's actual dents in them. Like there's a lot of effort that went into these. This one, clearly, it's based on the 85 Monte Carlo. And then you've got this guy, which is extra special because it is one of my favorite actual regular Hot Wheels castings, which is the 70 wagon.
I don't even know what it's called.
One of my favorites. which this one here, this beautiful burgundy model, was made by my dear friend, Mr. David Johns here, and sent to me.
Oh, man.
And I am so excited. High five.
High five.
So now I've got the before and after. And there was a Brady Bunch movie version of this car too, which is not super screen accurate, but I do have it because I love movie and TV cars. And I know you said this is rapid fire, but finally, so excited about this one. I just finally got it. I'm going to say the Crack Up series, but specifically this truck from the Crack Up series. Again, it's a fantasy thing, very clearly based on a Chevy truck of that era. But it's a long bed truck. It is blue. It has got these beautiful green, yellow, and white stripes on it, and very hard to find with this camper bed in place. So you would hit this one from behind, and it has a flip around panel that shows the damage, and then this part would bend up. And what was cool about this one was this part is actually, it's designed to snap and fly off, which is why you can never find the camper backs on these things. There's actually a little plastic tab to help catapult it off, so they would fall off. And there's actually inside the back to hide the flip around thing is a little toolbox in the back of the truck. So I've finally got one. I am so excited to customize it. I've got to figure out a way. I want to cast the back on it so I can make replacements. So those cars were very foundational to me as someone who does weathered customs, and those were ones that I always hung on to.
I just stumbled upon one, I think today or yesterday, that I bought at a vintage store. So it's probably, it's like a little Mercedes or BMW. I can't really tell. When you go like this, the doors open up, and it
nice.
I think it says like Sketch or something on the side of their racing.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, though.
Yeah, that's from the Crashers 1 series, which would have been 98. And I think 99 was the Crashers 2 series, this is actually from the Crashers 2 series. This one's missing the hood. You would hit there's a thing on the back if you bump the exhaust things in, or if it just hits, but the little dude pops up and the hood would fly off. And of course, those are all missing. So those are one of the few ones that I've actually started collecting on the cards, because the Crashers 2s, all of them had parts that came off, and you can't find them loose with the parts still intact, because kids did exactly what they were supposed to do with them, and they played with them.
Exactly.
It's a shame they couldn't do a Ford Pinto that exploded. That would have been
right.
The back.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Ford wants us to forget all about that. We're going to take a little break here, and when we come back, I'll be talking to y'all about getting started in weathering, which is a topic that I could probably speak for 3 or 4 hours about, but I am going to try and keep it as short as possible because we have talked way too long in this segment. So we're going to take a quick break, grab some water, and they're going to tell me to shut up some and let them get some words in. And we'll be right back.
We'll be back with more Diecast Breakdown after this word from our sponsors.
This episode of Diecast Breakdown is brought to you by you. That's right. We are 100% viewer and listener supported, and we are so grateful for those of you who have already supported the podcast and the shows we're planning to add to the Diecast Media Network family. You can find out more about how to support this project by visiting diecastmedianetwork.com or email us about sponsoring an episode at diecastbreakdown@gmail.com. The best way you can support what we're doing right now, though, is to subscribe and share these episodes with your family, friends, and Facebook groups. Anyone you think would enjoy what we're doing. Any extra attention we can get early on will go a huge way in helping this project grow. Thank you so much for sharing this journey with us.
Diecast Breakdown would like to thank Diecast Heroes Magazine for supporting this program. Diecast Heroes Magazine is the premier digital and print resource just for diecast customizers. Visit diecastheroes.com and see what the best customizers in the world are up to. And now back to Diecast Breakdown.
Okay, we're back, and today's roundtable discussion, where everybody just looks at Chuck and goes, yeah, okay, cool. We're going to be talking about getting started in weathering. If you've watched any of my videos, that's definitely my area of expertise. I've been doing weathered cars pretty much since I was 13 or 14 when I did my first weathered vehicle, and I still have it. The magazine that opened my eyes to it was this issue of Fine Scale Modeler that I found. I'm holding up a magazine in this visual medium, if you're listening on the podcast, I'm sorry, is the May 1989 issue of Fine Scale Modeler. And it says on the cover, Dirt, Dust, and Damage Techniques. And one of the things that caught my eye, this was one of my adopted grandfather's magazines, modeling a 49 Mercury junker. It was the first time I had seen an article about, and we're talking like, I would have been, let's see, at this age, it would have been probably 1994. So not really a lot of internet stuff going on in there. Anyway, this is the article, and it was interesting because it was a plain Jane car. It wasn't really destroyed or damaged. It was just worn. And I looked at it and I read it and I was like, I could do that. And I had been trying model building for a while, and I was a kid. I was not terrible at it, but I was inexperienced. And I got a 49 Ford, which was pretty close to a 49 Mercury, and I built it, and it was the first model that I was really proud of. And so that just became my thing. And at that point, I discovered model forums and got introduced to these really great diorama builders and rat rod builders like Ken Hamilton and Virgil Suarez that I learned under. And I had been trying to customize diecast as a kid, but I didn't think that was a hobby. And I didn't think that was anything anyone seriously did. And then started goofing around on YouTube and found Jakarta Diecast and Danny's Diecast Disasters and Bare Metal HW. And Bare Metal HW and Danny were doing weathered cars. And I thought that was really cool. And I was like, I could take some of the stuff that I used on the big cars and go small. And I had done okay. I had entered a couple of regional IPMS. It's a really terrible acronym. International Plastic Model Society. Like, you did not have a woman look this over, did you?
Pancake House of Hot Wheels.
I won a few awards in competitions with some of my weathered builds, and then I was like, oh, this would be fun to try that with diecasts. And the thing that everybody tells me when they go, oh, I want to do a weathered model, but I just don't know where to start. The first thing to do is to get your inspiration, is to do the research. I like to look at pictures of actual weathered cars and then just start wide and start breaking down, looking at the kind of car that you want to build. Do you want to build a beater knock-around car? Do you want to build a car that's been sitting in a junkyard? Cars rot in wholly different ways depending on where you are and what era and stuff. And the general rule of thumb with weathering cars is if you're doing an East Coast car in the United States, it's going to rot from the bottom up. If you're doing West Coast, it's going to rot from the top down. On the East Coast, you're not going to get as much sun, but you're going to get a lot of rust around the bottom of the car. So if you're building a car that's a snowplow vehicle, it's going to have a lot of rust around the bottom. If you're going to do a desert car, it's going to have all the paint faded off the top from years in the sun. And I've got both. I got the Valiant, which rusted from the bottom, and I got my truck from out west that rusted from the top. I get to go out and stare at that sometimes when I want to get some actual inspiration. I have huge folders in my Google Photos account of cars that I download from Facebook groups and get my inspiration from. But the tools that you're going to need to do them, you could get started with weathering vehicles with just some stuff that you can find. You don't even need a hobby shop. You need a dollar store and you need your local hardware store. The two big things that I try to remind everyone is nothing is ever truly white and nothing is ever truly black on a weathered vehicle. You're looking at shades of gray, shades of brown. If you're going to do a white car, think about painting it in light gray or a light tan or something like that. And your eye will auto adjust and go, oh, that should be white, but it's a faded white. If you're getting started, you don't need the fancy spray booth. You need just a can of regular Rust-Oleum self-etching primer or your basic primers that are not sandable, non-filling primers, and just get something cheap. If you can, get the rust red one, and that will give you your good base to get started on weathering. The techniques that I'm going to describe here are going to be your very basic rudimentary ones just to get started. So I would like to suggest starting with a blue or a green color, because those are going to really help draw out the rust tones. It's a lot harder to do weathering on a red car or an orange car or even a yellow car because your rust is going to want to blend in. What I like to do is, with a very basic job, is you lay down your red rust primer. And then there's a technique called the salt technique. And this is a very nice way to do chipping. You just get some coarse sea salt, and I like to mix it in with some regular table salt. And then you take just a little bit of water, and wherever you want to have rust, if you want to have it on the roof, if you want to have it on the sides or body of the car, you can just lay a little bit of water on there and then sprinkle the salt on it. Do your little salt bay sprinkle and have it drizzle all over the car, and the salt will stick to the water. You let the water dry, the salt's going to stay on the car. Then you very lightly mist your blue or green paint over the top. You want that first coat to just barely cover the car, just enough to make it a little sticky. Give it 5 minutes, lay a slightly thicker coat over it, but you want it to just barely cover the car. And that's for two reasons. First of all, the thinner paint is going to show through a little bit. If you can get it to show a little bit of the rust through, that's great. If you cover it completely, again, not a big deal. But then once that paint dries and you want to give it a full day to dry, you come along with your thumb and you just pull back the salt, get the salt off of there, and you might need to use a little water to get it off. And you're going to get really nice looking paint chips because they're actual paint chips. And that is a really nice 101 easy way to get paint chips done on a car. And if you want to have it so it looks like it's coming through a clear coat, maybe you use a gray primer as a base. So for most of these guys, if you're doing like a rat rod, that's a really nice way to get a paint chip effect done. Another easy tip is to go to the Dollar Tree, or the $1.25 tree as it is now, and look in the makeup section. Just ignore all the people giving you weird looks. If they're wondering, let them judge. It's fine.
It's fine. It's
and you find
1, 2.
Exactly. They usually have kind of natural eyeshadow sets that come with a little brush, or it's usually the eyeshadow ones, and you'll find some different browns and tans and russets and stuff, and
Lipstick.
those will make really nice. Yeah, no, do not use lipstick. Those will make a really nice dust pastel things. You can also use chalks if you need to. Do not use oil pastels because they will gum up your sandpaper, but you can just run them on sandpaper or an emery board, and that'll give you some powder. And you can use a cotton swab or that little applicator that comes with the makeup and just gently go around the bottom of the car, and that gives you that dust kick up effect. I like to go over it with the applicator and then go back over it with my thumb very gently and dab it, and that will help to blend the dust in. It's great to use on the interiors as well to make interiors look dusty and dirty in 1/64 scale. The other big thing that a lot of people overlook is your clear coat and your washes. And the easiest way to do that is you'll find like the matte clear coats at your local big box store. In the paint section, they've got a rattle can version. It's usually called something like matte clear or matte varnish. And lay a couple of thin coats of that over each layer of paint you do. So you would do the primer, and then you do the paint. And then before you go in with the rust and dust effects, I would do a quick single coat of the matte clear just to seal everything up and protect what's underneath. And that's also handy because if you get something wrong, you can always just wipe it down and the clear coat will protect it.
I like in our hobby, we're going to Hobby Lobby and the makeup aisle. That's that's progress.
Exactly. That's the thing that's great about crafting is it's great for everyone, and it gives you these are the improvisational techniques. Now, the trick with using the makeup is that if you lay the clear on too thick afterwards, it can wash it away. So you want to, again, really fine mist on that. And then the only thing that can be a little bit tricky to do is the washes. And that you can do with black craft paint. I prefer doing it with India ink if you can find it. And you use a little mix of alcohol and a little mix of water. And there's a lot of ways to do it. For me, the best advice I would have is just go on YouTube. There's quite a few mixes out there. I will post some links in the show notes of some good homemade washes to make. And I think that it's important, if you're doing the first go around, to do it that way. To do a brown wash, you can mix some red and brown. Burnt sienna, burnt umber are great colors that you can find in the craft store aisle for the 50-cent paint bottles. And mix those with water and with a little rubbing alcohol to help the drying effect. And just kind of experiment with those because it's super cheap Do this with a mainline car. Do it with a car that you don't care about, and practice with that. I think that's everybody's like ideal gateway into weathering. The sky is the limit when it comes to weathering. I have drifted into the gear heavy kind of borderline snobbery level of it, to where I have multiple 3D printers and I have all the fancy tools and stuff. But that's where I started, was basically just with the craft paint at the local hobby shop, doing some dirt effects. There's ways you can, even mixing a little bit of dirt in with your paint. If you're doing some sponging, get your little dish sponge, ideally a clean one, and tear off little bits of it. Dip those in some burnt sienna paint. Use some tweezers or a finger just to go along and dab on some rust spots that way. Mix it up, throw some dark gray in there. But the devil is in the details of this diecast. Shout out to Jamie. Anyway, but yeah, the real things that make it stand out are the washes, especially if you're doing a dark brown wash to bring out the details in the casting. And that's the thing with these castings. There's a lot of layering that has to happen in weathering, and it's very easy to go overboard and have that get rid of the details on the casting to cover up the door cracks and stuff. Less is more could not be stressed enough when it comes to the paint. Very thin layers.
Chuck, I really appreciate you telling us that haven't started weathering how to get started and how actually doable it is to get into this. But I'm curious, you are pretty far down the rabbit hole when it comes to weathering. Just out of curiosity, any idea how many different types of products you have in your arsenal?
I was just sorting my paints out the other day. I've probably got over 100 different pots of Vallejo, AK Interactive. Please sponsor us, AK Interactive. And that doesn't even get started on the different levels of craft paint and the washes and the acrylics versus enamels. But yeah, I've probably got another 75 to 100 levels of paint, because it's just that, in case you haven't noticed, I don't like doing things part way. And once I started down that rabbit hole,
that's true,
going,
folks.
okay, Vallejo is really good. Let's see how AK Interactive stuff is. And then if you want to take things up a notch, I highly recommend Vallejo or AK Interactive, but specifically Vallejo has a rust and chipping set, and there's a rust and streaking set, and they're about $25. And they're both really good because they have step-by-step tutorials as well. I actually bought one of the sets on one of my builds. I just literally took it by the numbers and just did, exactly the step 1, step 2, step 3, and walked through each step of it and used only those paints. And it was remarkable. It had everything but the clear coats and the panel liner. And panel liner is a real separate the hobbyist from the more advanced level. And that's true of any custom. To have that little extra level of shadow really makes these cars come alive. I've done 2 different ways. The Gundam panel markers are great the first 2 or 3 times you use them, and then they are a bear to use after that. They dry out on you, or they just pick up particulates, so you got to clean them and you've got to try and get the flow going again. Whereas to me, a panel liner is by far my favorite tool to use, because it comes in a little glass thing that it's got thick sides on it, so it feels like it's not going to break, and it's got the applicator right in it, which is really handy, and you can see exactly how much you got left when you're getting low. And honestly, it's $10, but you will run out of cars long before you run out of panel liner, because a few drops will do a whole car at this scale, which is fantastic. That's another wonderful thing about weathering in this scale, is that I will never use all of the paints that I have. If I were to build cars every day, I would never run out of paints, because it takes so little. Like one airbrush load, which is honestly 15 to 20 drops of paint, it'll last forever. So the other things, a lot of people like to go with dull silver on their restoration, or on their restorations, I should say, their weathered builds, because they think, oh, everything's got to be dull and everything's got to be faded. And that's not really true. Like with junk cars, you can go into a junkyard and see a 80, 90-year-old car that there's still chrome that's glimmering on it, because that's just how chrome is. Like the rust will come through, but it's still going to be shiny right up until the fact that it's gone. Investing in anything from the Maltao chrome pen is popular, because you can get it usually in most hobby shops. The Maltao is great. The only thing that I don't like about the Maltao is that they do tend to leak.
Yeah.
So you got to be very careful, especially on the 1mm one. The 2 and the 4, I have not had problems with, but if you got the 1mm, I have had 2 of them now that have just dropped a huge blob of chrome right on my thing, and it's a double-edged sword.
There's no coming back, is there?
Yeah, there's no coming back, because that stuff, it lays on really thin and it smears. And once it smears, you can't get it. It's on your fingers. It's on the car. You can't get it off. You have to start over.
It's on your feet.
You should probably wear gloves using that stuff. It's probably not good stuff in there. Yeah, so there's a knockoff chrome pen that I got some, and I want to do a test of how it compares to the Maltao, because it's significantly cheaper, but you got to get it shipped from China, and it's from the I also did buy some stuff from AliExpress, by the way, there, David. So tried that out. So we'll see sometime in late January. Sometime in late January, I'm going to be getting the Maisto City set.
You're going to forget about it completely, like I do sometimes. What is this?
What is that called?
What is this?
Amazonesia or something?
Can I say something real quick?
No.
Sure.
When you see work like Chuck, this is something that bothers me when I see it online. So I'm going to rant for 10 seconds here. If you are asking someone to come up with a piece of art by whatever definition you call art, if it is something that they do and you like, don't ask for that for free.
Yeah.
That bothers me. That is someone's art, and a lot of this stuff, I know Chuck's stuff especially, takes hours. Just
don't even ask.
Pay an artist what it's worth.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. I have had a few people, and it doesn't bother me as much as you'd think, because some people, they just don't understand, or there are genuinely generous people like that have sent me customs from David. Anyway,
first one's free, folks. First one.
The first one is free,
and
this one is beautiful. I have had this one. Normally, these go on my shelf. This one has been sitting on my desk since I got it, so I can look at it all day.
Do you sleep with it? Honest answer.
That's a different episode.
It depends on what your definition of is.
You see,
that is an old
what
joke.
Happened
Mr. Clinton.
What had happened was, yeah. I don't know how it got there, Doctor.
All right.
Anyway,
this train is off the tracks.
Yeah, this train, that train of Mark's is completely off the rails and going through his living room. I think the thing that's worse, actually, if I can join your rant, is when people want to buy it and you tell them, and they go, "It's not worth that much." Like, I was thinking $10.
Yeah, for 5 hours.
And here's generally, look, folks, if you're gonna approach someone and ask to buy a custom, and it looks good enough that you want to buy, it's a $75 car. Let's just put that out there right now. Minimum, maybe if it's a very basic thing, like if they do paint and wheels, maybe on the low side $50. Because if you think about it, that is probably, if you think about the paint that they had to buy, the equipment that they're using, the 2 or 3 hours that it took to do that, they're not going to do that for $10. And for my builds, I probably spend 8 to 10 hours on a build.
It's a lot of time.
And so you divide that up and you go, okay, no, I'm not going to give you a car for $1 an hour. And that's just my labor. That's just, and again, we're doing this for fun. A lot of us do this for fun, and we will. I always say my cars are for sale just because if you do want it, and I've worked with people in the past where we've worked out trades where they'll give me an assortment of cars in exchange. There are ways you can do it and not offend somebody or not insult their time. But I think that's, again, I don't usually get mad about it because I think most people don't think about the time. Especially when, like, I'm taking a build and condensing it down to 10 or 15 minutes in a video. It seems like it goes by really quickly, but there's all the time, like I said, there's research. There's usually, like, I've got either a printout or I've got my screen has 5 or 6 pictures of actual cars up that I'm using as prototypes. Like I said, that's the big thing. Like I said, step 2, get one of the Vallejo weathering kits for armor builds. That is a really great way to get started. And then step 3 is build out from there. Do the investment in an airbrush and don't go cheap on the airbrush. That was my thing for years. I thought, I'm not an airbrusher. I can't do this. It's awful. And the reason why it's awful is because I was buying that $15 airbrush set with a can of propellant, and I'd be out of propellant by the time I could get anything out. And it's funny because they're usually made by Badger, and Badger makes some really great airbrushes, but that beginner set is just, it is so disheartening that I think it puts most people off of airbrushes because they go, okay, well, I'll buy the cheapy introductory thing and work my way up. Yeah. And one day I was like, you know what? I am going to spend $100, get into Iwata, and you can buy the compressor sets. I have a compressor in my garage that I use for my power tools, and it's very easy to get the stuff to adapt to. I run it through a regulator that has a moisture trap that you can get on your favorite online stores or wherever. And I have a quick disconnect on that goes straight to my compressor hose. And then I have my regulator up at the top, and then it goes to the Iwata hose to my airbrush. And oh my gosh.
You need to make a video on that.
Yeah. I'm gonna do that. But like, my setup is a bit unusual. I'm pretty sure most people are not gonna have a 30-gallon air compressor that they're gonna hook up. The best part about it is I can airbrush for literally days without having to turn my compressor on, because I've got a 30-gallon compressor that's packed at 150 psi, and I'm dumping out at most 25 psi.
I smell a world record coming.
Yeah, exactly. Just longest airbrush hold.
24 hours. Le Mans of airbrushing.
If Jim Silva has taught people anything, there is so much that you can do with just rattle can. And there are all kinds of great techniques that you can use. I've used the bounce back technique, which is where you just take like part of a cereal box, and you can actually hold it close to the model. And you could take gray, or like a dark gray or a dark red, and if you spray it onto the cardboard a little bit, it'll bounce back and give you little speckle effects with the...
Interesting.
Another cool technique is to take flat black, and you lay down some flat black paint, and then you take a regular generic squirt bottle, fill it with water, turn it to as fine a mist as you can, hold it over the car, spritz it, let the mist fall on it, then go over it with the rust red primer. And that will give you a really cool, when it dries, rusty effect. It works a little better with larger scale, but that is another really handy technique for getting a good textured rust effect. Sponges, makeup applicators that you can find at the Dollar Tree, those little wedge sponges, those are fantastic. You just tear the ends so you don't have the hard corners. There are so many different ways to do weathering, and I've just loved that. And that's been my thing with my builds, is I try to do a different technique each one, which is another reason why I have a million sets of paint, because I want to try all these different ways, because there's so many different ways. Just follow builders that inspire you. Danny's Diecast Disaster has really inspired me. Sharon Tarshish, he's got a really great channel, and yeah, I know. I'm sure I'm saying his name wrong, but I believe he's living in Spain. So we've got a very interesting cat, but he does really cool builds. If you haven't seen any of his builds, I highly recommend them. Bare Metal HW, he puts me to shame when it comes to gear, because he was like doing full on plating, and he was doing like, I started doing some of his stuff. Like, I've learned how to do zinc plating from his channel, and that's actually like easier than you'd think there. But he was doing like hardcore to get rust damage, like dipping these things in etchant acid and stuff. Like, it was impressive, and I do want to do that someday. That is another thing that I highly recommend. There's a lot you can do with the body on using a Dremel tool and a burr tool. The burr tool on a Dremel is amazing. You just have to be careful, because burrs like to dig in, and then they will run a line across the whole side of your car, and you have to figure out how to deal with scratches there. What I like to do now, one of the techniques that I like to use, is I will use the Dremel tool to make the texture, and then I'll go over it with just that aluminum ducting tape that you can get at your local hardware store. I will create a bunch of dents, and then I'll go over that with a piece of that aluminum ducting tape, and that smooths it out just enough to give it that better illusion of wrinkled metal. And you can get those sharp creases. You can actually tweak the ducting tape a little bit to get sharp creases in your dents that you can't really get with a Dremel.
It's so like the dents would be more proportionate to an actual vehicle.
Exactly. And that dents are by far the hardest thing to do with a weathered build, because on plastic, it's almost impossible to do well, because of the nature of the plastic. It gets hot, it melts, it doesn't look like metal. Nothing really can give you that edge unless you're constructing 3D modeled stuff. I've used wine foil too, and when I say wine foil, I'm talking about the foil that's around the cap on a wine bottle, for those of you
or Martinelli's. It doesn't have to be alcoholic.
Or Martinelli's, it works. You can just work that foil around the edge off, and you get this really interesting. It's thick, it's pretty rigid, but it's still really easy to form around a fender, and then you can create that. I've done one before where I've chopped the middle part of the fender away and replaced that area with the wine foil, and you just use some CA glue to hold it in place, and then go along the back, and I run a bead of CA glue across the back to fill it in, and so it's more solid. But yeah, those are some of the techniques to get started. I would wrap things up by saying, like I said, follow people that you admire. If you've got any questions, I've got several builds on my channel that you can see, and I'm always happy to answer questions. That's the best thing that I can advise anyone is to ask questions. There are some I know that like to keep their secrets, and to them I say, all right, then keep your secrets. Don't get discouraged. Craft paint will get you there most of the time, but once you start investing in real good paint, there's so much that I think I missed out on because I got discouraged because I was using either cheap gear or I didn't take the time, or I wasn't willing to make the mistake. That's the other thing too, is be willing to make the mistake. Make the first car a sacrificial car. Make it one you don't care about, and just have fun with it. See what happens. Leave the fingerprints in, leave the smudges, and then go back to it and go, hey, this could be better. This could be better. We'll learn from it and move on.
Hey, Chuck, wouldn't you say, though, my takeaway from what you just said, and it's been fantastic, but you can avoid a little bit of that initial discouragement that might brush a new beginner off if you just do what you said and do some research. I love the idea of know what you're going for, have a plan. If you go into this totally without a plan, who knows what you're going to end up with, and you don't even know if you like it or not. I never even thought that was part of your process, and I hope the listeners picked up on that if you just dive in, you just really have no end point in sight, no end game that you're looking for. And you want to know what you're going after to know if you like it or not. Okay.
Prep is everything. I once laid out my entire process just to write it down as like a checkbox for a typical weathered build, and it's 51 steps.
There you go, listeners.
So now that is probably about twice as many steps as needs to happen, especially with scales like this. But yeah, you can really get lost in the weeds. I called it weathering jazz. If you don't have a plan, you end up just putting more and more on until you realize you're losing detail in the paint or you're just going mad. So the prep work is key. Laying out what you want to look like is key, and figuring out that process. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions that y'all may have. You can email me at diecastbreakdown@gmail.com. And happy to answer any questions that anyone has, or you can check out some of my videos, and I'll link to those in the description below or in the show notes. So.
Yeah, I'd just like to add.
I really enjoyed that.
It's all a process, just like customizing in general. Just starting out with some basic things, like usually a wheel swap is a great place to start out with. Taking the car apart, drilling it, taking it apart, seeing the inner linings of the car. Maybe start with painting the interior. But yeah, because it's just you just have to start with whatever you're comfortable with, and just make mistakes and learn from the mistakes. And it's just going to be, it's probably going to take you years to get to the point where you'd like to be. It's not going to be. Some people are automatically pretty good at it, and they're very artistic or already had experience with paint and stuff. But it's a process, so don't get frustrated when you're doing your first custom of any sort, and just say, this is too hard, I don't want to do this, because it's going to take some frustration and some failures for sure, like anything else.
Like I said, I've been doing builds since I was 13 or 14, and so people will go, you're really good at this, they'll act like I just picked it up one day, and I was like, no, it took years. And they're like, oh, you're pretty good at making videos. And I'm like, yeah, because I spent 4 years going to college for a major in broadcast communications, and I worked for 10 years in television, and then after that did marketing with a media focus and media buying, and have watched more television than anyone should ever be allowed to watch. Like I said, I like to go all in when I go into my stuff, and I hope that shows in the show. And again, I've talked way too long. RIP me later when I go to edit this together. Thank you so much for listening to me rant about something that I care way too much about, but we're going to turn the wheel a little bit here and drop a gear and floor it to our interview section, where I am very excited to talk with Tony and Carmen Matthews of Superfly Autos and Diecast Heroes Magazine, which is probably where you know them from. They are amazing people. They have basically built from the ground up this really underground enthusiasts movement, and it's based around their whole mantra is "this is how we roll." It's very much in that whole respect all builds kind of thing. That's a controversial take for a lot of people, but I think it's a welcome one. I think it's one that needs to exist, and I think that they've stumbled into the diecast world from the big car world, and I'm really excited to hear them share their story. And there's some very important stuff that they're working on that I want you to stick around and see. Without further ado, we're going to throw to Us in the Past, where we're talking to Tony and Carmen Matthews.
Don't touch that dial. Diecast Breakdown will be right back after these messages. We'd like to take a moment to thank our executive producer level patrons, First and 64th Customs, Video Geek Productions, Matchbox Mark, Jonathan Von Nesch, and Donald Rashik. Please stick around till the end of the episode for our full list of partners and learn how you can support this project at diecastmedianetwork.com.
Got an idea for our show? Know someone that would make a great guest? Want to tell Mark how handsome he is? We'd love to hear from you. Email us your ideas at diecastbreakdown@gmail.com.
And now, the thrilling conclusion of this week's episode of Diecast Breakdown.
All right, I am super excited today because we are sitting down and it's all three of us together for the first time. And we have got someone real special, and that's why we're all here. It is Tony and Carmen Matthews from Superfly Autos, and you probably know them best as the publishers of Diecast Heroes, which is the only and the best because it is the only, no, but it is the best because it is the best magazine when it comes to customizing diecast cars and talking about diecast culture. Tony and Carmen, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thanks for having us.
100%, guys. It's a pleasure to be here with all three of you guys. Amazing. Thank you.
Let's talk a bit about the how Superfly Autos came about and how that started, and then we can kind of talk a little bit more about how that evolved into Diecast Heroes.
Yeah, where should we
Packed
start?
12 years into 20 minutes.
You have 30 seconds.
Push.
See what we
Let's try.
can, yeah, we see how we can condense it, because what we'll do, we'll go straight back to kind of where the passion came for the car
Yeah.
culture. I think then it'll make really good sense about how it then went into the diecast years after. So prior to Carmen and I meeting, I was into cars since I was 16 years old. My cousins showed me loads of car magazines because I used to live in France, and there was these amazing customized car magazines. I just looked at these mags and went, wow, this is cool. How can I get into this? As soon as I can start driving, I wanted to build a car that nobody would get, customize it, get it into a magazine to prove that you don't always have to go down the same path as everyone else to have something quite unique in the world. And this car gave me quite a lot of ridicule because let's envision the comedian Mr. Bean. I don't know if you've seen the series of Mr. Bean.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's about as small as that many, and you can imagine it's one of those cars where everyone else got really sporty, hot hatch cars, and I'm this guy driving around with this blue little car, and everyone's laughing at me to some degree, but I thought, you know what, I will prove you guys wrong. And after about, I think, 2 years of modifying this car, I actually got it featured in one of the biggest car magazines in England at the time. It was like 2001, called Max Power.
I've heard of it.
That's when the bug hit me. I was like, I want to get involved in this community as much as I can. I had a friend with a garage with a car with two engines. It was as powerful as a Lamborghini Diablo. It would be a little bit bigger than my car. And he was invited to a show in the south of France. And I was like, whereabouts? Because I've lived in the south of France. I have family. That's right. I'm part French and English, so I've got family out there. And he went, oh, it's this place called Cap d'Agde. And I was like, say that again? And he said the name. And I was like, that's where I grew up as a kid. My family's down there. And he went, well, you speak French. I tell you what, I'll pay the whole trip. You can be my translator for the whole weekend. That's when I met a car magazine called Fast Car, who then saw I could speak French, went, could you be our translator to get some feature cars for us? So while they were taking pictures, I was doing some translating to find out the story about the owner. Once I did that for 2 days, I went to the photographer and said, how do I do this for a job, a career? Because I'm so passionate about cars. I know a lot of people. And he said, I'll tell you what, we'll tag team as a duo. I'll teach you how to write articles creatively, and I'll take pictures. You search the cars on the internet, and we'll tag team on weekends while you're at university and working. I found this guy in Switzerland. He had about 5 friends with 5 amazing cars, Alfa Romeos, Lamborghini Diablos, We flew over from England together, and lo and behold, I met Carmen, who happened to be one of the friends to the guys with the 2 Lamborghini Diablos. And it was then we just got talking, and there was something there, obviously. And around that time, the magazine had a place going for a consumer writer. So the photographer put me forward. I spent a couple of weeks just to see if it's something that I wanted to do as a career. Because, as you know, sometimes going from a hobby to a career, it's just not the same thing. But then I got on with the team. I had all the credentials, I got the language, got the connections, so they took me on. So that was 2 years working for a huge major magazine called Fast Car in the UK, where I made a lot of international connections in Japan, in Europe, in America. Because of the language which I have, I didn't have this barrier to go and contact people who didn't speak my French or English language. And I made so many connections, but then I wanted to leave the industry because there's too much politics, and I wanted to learn more business at the same time. We stepped out of the game a little bit. But then magazines around the world said, "Oh, you're on your own now. Why didn't you become freelance photographers and car writer articles?" And we never really thought about it, but we give it a go. I reluctantly sold my car at the time, which was for 9 years. I held this car. We bought one DSLR camera, one lens, and one tripod. It was so expensive back then. One flashlight. And it was probably $10,000 probably back then. It was a ridiculous price. And we self-taught. Because people said I had an eye for photography on like the BlackBerry phone I used to have back then. This is like old school stuff in a way. And we failed forward because at the beginning I didn't do so well. And one editor said, you can't really give us this kind of material. And my head didn't realize, because we worked with film back in the magazine industry, not digital. So I'd provide everything raw with all black. And they were like, "This is dark. I can't even see the car." And I was like, "Oh, this is embarrassing." And I almost quit. And Carmen said, no, we've just got to keep moving forward, keep practicing. It was 2008 where the economy went and took a dive. Magazines that were printable were literally just dropping like flies. A lot of people said to us, "We should do. You have contacts everywhere." A lot of people, why don't you do it from your perspective? And so that's how kind of Superfly came into fruition. The reason for Superfly is that we wanted to only focus on the coolest people, the coolest builds from every type of culture. Didn't matter what you are, if it's a rat rodder, a low rider, a classic, retro car owner. We want to mix you all together, and hopefully you can respect each other's sides and go, "Wow, that modification on that car is amazing. Maybe I can adapt it to my car," and even though it's a completely different culture. And that was the essence of that. And the tagline, "This is how we roll," was to say, that's my car, this is how I roll. If you love it, that's great. If not, who cares? This is my life.
First, everything was thrown into the hub of Superfly Autos. And then right in the beginning of the pandemic, where everybody was sitting indoors and we didn't know anymore what to do and how to get hold of people. First, we had the idea of having a podcast similar to you guys, but then that went literally into garage visits. That changed into, hang on, Sideways King is having his garage actually changed into a full-on Hot Wheels garage, really. And Diecast Heroes was born.
That's amazing. Carmen, tell me, we've heard Tony's side. I'm kind of fascinated how you became that friend that he met at that show. How did you end up there?
Okay, so he mentioned we met in Switzerland. I am actually originally German, born and raised in Germany, right down south, close to the Alps. My mom was extremely strict, and my dad was not so strict, and he loved cars. So every time we went from my hometown to my grandparents, which is like a 90-minute drive, I more or less, because my mom often had headaches, I was supposed to shut up. But once we arrived, my dad always turned around, "Did you see that BMW?" Which one? So I had to learn pretty quickly if I wanted to communicate with my dad, about cars, and his love for Dean Moon and so many things around cars just were dumped onto me. And as I lost my dad when I was 15, that kind of stuck to me, and I never let that go. Once you are in that, you're kind of drifting in that way. It's I don't know how. I would not be able to tell anybody how I made these connections. They just came. They presented themselves to me.
Would you say the car community is a black hole? Once you get in, you can't get out.
You know
Wasn't
what?
that
I thought about that a while ago, actually. It feels like you're just sucked in. And then once you are in, there's no way. But who wants to get out?
Don't fight
Really?
it. Don't fight it.
No, there's nothing to search anyway on the other side. So just leave it at that.
Are you still both doing 9 to 5s, or is this your full-time gig now?
In the end of 2014, December the 5th, and ever since have done that full time.
We knew we had to do something different with our lives. The passion was there, and it's that risk that you decide to take. And one day, I think it was actually 2012, we started to get more involved in our mindset than anything else. We wanted to feel that there's something more to life than just working 9 to 5. How can we leave our 9 to 5, travel around the world and meet some amazing people, have something that like a legacy that we can have for ourselves, and also maybe if we can inspire people through our journey. I think 2014, 6 months after I was leaving the UK, I just got up one morning. I was just sick and tired of my job. I just started swearing and all sorts and talking to Carmen, like, that's it, we need to get out. Something's got to change today.
You literally woke up and I just barely had my eyes open, and he had that full-on rant, and I could not even get my, like, what happened? I was literally waking up thinking, what happened last night to you? I don't know where his head came from, but he was so determined, like, no, that's it, we are going to get out. I'm like, out of what? So yeah, there we go.
We'll sell everything we own, our car, we'll sell all the memorabilia we'd have, and only keep a few things that really meant a sentimental value. If we have family around the world, like in France and Germany, because Carmen's German, I've got French family, we said, look, this is the journey we're going to take. And also to car people that we knew around the world. If we to come hang out in your country, are you cool if we hang out with you guys? You know, can we crash with you guys? Can we hang out? And say, look, not a problem. Family, we spend more time, and plus the car people like, dude, don't even go for a hotel. You can hang out with us. We'll just be like hanging out more than we've ever done. So we were grateful for people like this. So we calculated that, and we, I think, had about less than $8,000 in our bank account. And we literally went and just thought, we just got to make it work.
Yeah, at that point, I have to say, you know, it sounds not a lot, but if you have no possessions other than what you've got, your overheads are minimized immensely. But the risk is we have no own home, no car, so nothing really to our name. So there's a duality in all of that. So don't do that if you don't already know your passion. So
Correct.
Literally get things going before you're jumping ship.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I think just about anyone that is in this hobby enough to create content about it. And I've heard Mark say this too on his podcast. If he could do it full time, he would, you know, and I'm the same way. I won't speak for David. I don't know how he likes his day job, but, but it's incredible. And I kind of had a similar thing happen with me where I was going, you know, I keep looking for this dream job to come up and I don't know where it is. Like it's not, no one's giving me the chance to do it. I've got the ability to do this, but nobody's really giving me the chance to do it. And I was like, well, why don't you just go out and do it yourself? Like, and that sounds a lot like that same kind of, well, I've got the thing. I just have to realize it's time to let go and do it. And that's incredible that you've been able to do that. And it's really inspiring to have the freedom to pursue what you love as your full-time job.
You know, I think what many people fail to see is that when you jump both feet into what you love doing, you exchange a regular 9 to 5, inverted commas, with security of income against 90 to 100 hours per week easily, 24/7, because we are working around the world. So our communications come in 24/7. So you have to kind of figure out your own, what can I do, what can't I do, what's too much, what's too little. There's a lot of risk assessment in all of it. And that comes only with experience. Nobody can give you that experience because every genre, every niche, every personality is different.
And if I can add to that, one of the biggest things we learn through this is you truly get to know who you truly are.
Yeah.
I feel unless you push yourself to go through certain barriers, I don't think you truly understand how far you're willing to go. And it allows you to be able to embrace that. Because I think a lot of people, when it hit a failure, and I was in a different when I was younger, as soon as a failure came, I was like, no, that's it, game over, I'm not doing it. But now you become so resilient and go, so what? It doesn't matter anymore, I'm just going to keep going, because this passion that we have for whatever the subject we have is going to drive us forward. I mean, we've been through some incredible things through the last 6 years of family issues, conflicts we've had from past things from childhood that only comes forward now because you've had more close time. You're like, wow, it fills the gaps from when I was a kid to now understanding why this happened, and it allows me to grow and move on and things like that. And then you learn a lot more about business. You are essentially the CEO of your entire life. It's not just your business. So everything is like you're responsible for absolutely everything. But one thing we've also learned on the way is that people that we've met have been incredible. They've supported us, and people we've met for the first time have been more supportive than even family members, which we're eternally grateful for.
You know that sentence, nobody cares, just work harder, couldn't be further from the truth. People care. At their core, really, they care. And not only that, the more you care, the more people care about you. Like the amount of times we have spoken to people and they turned around and said, you know what, I actually was ready to give up. And you've just turned that around. That to us makes everything worthwhile. Everything. And makes another day for us and makes us keep going, because that is, why wouldn't you hold on to your hobby, your passion? This is you. Why wouldn't you invest in that if that is what makes you happy? We all have an internal guiding system that tells us when we are happy and when we are unhappy for a reason. Do what makes you happy. That is what your guiding system is telling you. Do it. Let nobody else tell you that it is not right, that it doesn't make you money, that you shouldn't be doing this because it hurts, blah, blah, blah. No. There's only one person responsible for you, and that's you yourself.
When it is your passion project and it is your calling in life, it's amazing how your definition of failure gets changed, doesn't it? You know, things become more obstacles instead of a failure. It's just another obstacle to overcome. So I'm so glad you guys said what you just said.
Yeah, when a child starts walking, they don't turn around and say, oh,
Phooey this pooey.
I'm gonna, just not do it because that is not right, or that just hurt, or nobody's paying attention. They don't say that. They just get up and try again with blinkers on. It's like, no, I'm gonna walk. And exactly that is what is passion, really. There's a difference in between passion and a dream. Your dream is like where you literally sit back and think, oh, wouldn't that be nice? And then often when you hit the dream, it's like, no, that's not how I envisioned it. Whilst when you have a passion, you could do that over and over and over and over and over again until there's no tomorrow anymore, because you love doing what is in it and it gives back to you. So that's the difference.
You had like an epic launch when you launched Diecast Heroes. You had, Larry Wood, you had Mike Zarnock, you have Fireball Tim, you've got, you've got Jay Leno and, pictures of him. So you've had an opportunity to rub shoulders with some really amazing people. So, let's talk about how you turned that into the magazine and what the response has been since you launched.
When we started Superfly, we always wanted to focus on the individual that may not be as high up as a Jay Leno or a Fireball Tim, but we always knew that throughout our passion of the storytelling, some of these people are very crucial to bring to the forefront. So at least you have that kind of person who's probably got a few $1,000s to build a car or not much money to build a diecast, but then you do have someone up there who's a car passionate person who's got some wisdom to share. So we always thought that's an amazing thing to do, and we always strived to connect with those as much as possible. And so with Diecast Heroes, we wanted to bring a publication that was about you guys, the ones who are building the foundation of the community. And yes, to infuse people like Mike Zarnock, the Larry Woods and Fireball Tim, Bruce Pascal, and people like that, 100%. Because we saw the community 7 years ago prior to Diecast Heroes coming to life, and seeing guys like you create the replicas of the one-to-one scale cars, I was just like, that's the dopest thing I've ever seen. I mean, this is the coolest thing ever. And we started showcasing you, like Carmen said before, that on our Facebook channel, we would always put the odd one we'd find prior to it kicking off on Instagram as much as it is now. And it was one particular time at the SEMA show, it might have been either 2016 or 2017, we actually connected probably one of the first guys on Instagram called Chris Huntley. And he was like, oh gosh, you guys are at SEMA. He met us, lovely guy. He actually gave us one of his customers just as a thank you for recognizing him. I was like, wow, this is quite humbling, you know, just how caring this guy was. And I thought, we've got to do something more with this community because we just love the creativity you guys had. It was in the pandemic that we, for a long time, were like, what can we do more? Because we've done a few competitions with Mattel for you guys. We got Larry Wood involved for competition. And then we've come to that magazine world. We've created magazines, and we still do today. And I thought, how cool would it be to make a car magazine, but a diecast version based on almost the same principles of a car magazine?
We were actually shocked that there was none.
Yeah, we really took taken back. So we thought, well, you guys have got an incredible community. Why has no one done this?
Yeah.
And we just thought, well, the reason is because they're not thinking from the philosophy from our side, is that we've come from the scene. We create car magazines already, and we're adapting the same principles to that. And I think the diecast magazines out there are just there providing you guys the knowledge of the latest releases, which is fantastic, but never truly dived into the creative aspect of that. And that's what we thrive on. It's like everything else is great, but the creative stuff's cool. And I was getting a kick out of understanding that you guys have got these little workshops in a little sort of studio.
Incredible.
Size of, like, you know, really shrinking that garage down there with the tools. Oh, this is fascinating. So I thought, well, what if we make a magazine where it's themed at every single issue? It's not just your regular, let's just feature everybody just like this. That's great. But what if we theme it and fuse some lifestyle elements? So that's why the first issue that we had, obviously, the first one that we made, is just this one here. It was all 80s and 90s. I mean, we're from that era. I love the 80s nostalgia, so does Carmen. And I thought the front cover, let's make that a really cool sort of like a cereal box theme where you got the bowl with all the die casts instead of the cereals, and just literally designed the entire magazine to look and feel like it's from that era. So magazines for us have been, you know, it's nicely designed now. It's all clean photography, and I thought that's great, but everything isn't designed to look and feel all the way through like you could get lost in this magazine. And even we have some people to this day again, I go back to page 52 and I missed something. I go back to page 3 and I'm like, I didn't see that the first time. So how can we create?
But that's by intent.
It was.
Well.
It's by intent.
We wanted to pack it because you guys are giving so much, and we don't want to miss anything out.
Exactly, and magazines have become a bit boring. Not everyone wants them. And if we can make this more of a collectible piece as well, so you can go back to it, it's got less advertising, if hardly any inside. And it was just to really get everyone buzzing on that every 3 months they could actually get involved in this instead of just us creating it. Because we would normally go out with magazines and find the car and feature them, but then it's like, well, it's a two-way street now. It's not us. You inspired us. So what if we can get you guys to get involved in the themes that we're thinking of? And if you like them, let's do this. And then bring in a different theme every single issue. And how then Fireball came into the mix is that we were already working with him with a colouring book that we were doing. And then we one day just said to him,
that was for Superfly.
That's right, for Superfly Autos. And one day on a call, I said, we've got this killer idea. I think you're going to love it. And when we told him, his eyes just lit up like Christmas. He was like, oh my God, this just sounds awesome. So I went, look, we'll put everything together. We'll source, we'll connect. But do you fancy helping us with the cover, with some of the artwork? And so for the first issue, we're looking for this boombox guy, 80s style, you know, we're doing this kind of cereal box cover. And so he came up with the dog idea because he said with the stigma of different genres of people this day and age, which is kind of really odd, what if we have an animal? It's a lot easier to sort of just put a dog out there. And so he came up with all the designs, and that's how we teamed up with him to get involved in the cover. And he has his little sort of panel inside each issue about what he gets up to in the world of his designing and car culture. And the response was incredible for us. But then as people started to see what we're doing, they all want to come on and talk. And I thought, this is incredible. And then that's when the whole coffee talk thing came through because of the lockdown. And we felt that what we were onto was not just a brand. It was like you guys felt you were already a tight-knit community. We saw that. Yeah. But it felt like there was a voice needed to get you guys to come out more and share what you guys do, because it's absolutely phenomenal. And the more people we show, they're like, these guys are talented, man. We've never seen anything like it. The detail and all the creative ideas, the way they build them, it blows people away. And so for that, it just drew us in more. We were thinking we've got to do something more now. So obviously the magazine is number one, and we'll see what we can come up with next.
Hey, Chuck. Tony and Carmen created a space for the community. You know, There was such a void, and you get to share your stuff. Everybody loves showing off their art. And kudos to you guys for creating a space where, no one is telling them, hey, these are little toy cars, these are childish, whatever. This is our passion, and you guys made a place for people to confidently share their stuff. You guys said it best on your launch video. Customs are customs, no matter what scale they are. 1-to-1 scale or 1-to-64.
There's heart in, there's passion in, there's creativity in it. There's everything that life actually needs and provides.
I mean, one thing that really blew us away is that we found individuals from this community that felt for the first time they could be accepted into something. I was a kid at school, I was bullied, so I know what it feels like to be the outsider. And that was the other reason why Superfly was born, because I'm like, Superfly, I'm an outsider. You guys are outsiders. You're doing stuff that other people won't. They'll just drive a normal car every day and that's all they'll do. Or you'll just have, collecting diecast is different to me. It's just as much as customizing. So it's more of the 1-to-1 scale. But then I saw people going, wow, we've been accepted. People are talking to us. Wow, these guys have got a big audience. They're actually giving it.
Dang.
About me, they can actually put on a podcast. I'm like, why the
Heck.
not? You may not have 1,000 followers or whatever, but you've got some cool stuff going down. If you want to talk, let's do this.
We get lots of emails. You'd be surprised where the emails start with, I don't know if you would be interested. I'm not having that many followers, but this is what I do. If you fancy, maybe you want to feature it. I don't care how many followers you have. You could have 1 follower. If you're passionate about it, show me what you've got and we'll get that together. If anybody's listening and thinks, hey, I'd like to, please send them through diecastheroes with the number 1 at the end at gmail.com.
That's awesome.
Send them. And we'll get through it.
I love magazines. It's one of those things that's died off. I think what comes to my mind is when you're traveling or you're taking a flight, or you're just need some material to really dive into. I've always appreciated those, and I'm really excited about this magazine. And to bring a community together through it is amazing. And what you guys just said about taking people that don't have much experience, that they're just starting out, and to fuel their fire and give them more passion so they can take off and become the next, Jakarta diecast. They're going to grow. And, you have to encourage people to grow. Because if you just tell them maybe come back when you have more subscribers, or come back when you're better, that's not going to help at all. So I really appreciate you guys encouraging people to jump forward. Everybody that's into the diecast, pretty much a car person of some sort. They like different models. They're car people. So there's an avenue to bring in millions more people into the diecast community and make it even bigger and greater, because they love these cars in real life too. Yeah. And, I'm a Datsun guy. So the biggest cool thing with that is people are like, what's a 510? And now that these are a big thing in the diecast community, people get so stoked on my 510. They're like, oh yeah, I have that diecast car, And for me, it's really cool. So for you guys to expand the community and do something new and creative, is awesome. And I love the 90s theme too. I love bright colors and all that. So appreciate what you guys are doing for sure. You guys are awesome.
Yeah. I have the print and the digital version. Magazine is selling this thing short. It's borderline a book when it comes out. And this is it is almost all content. There is almost no ads to it. It's all, viewer supported, subscriber supported. And like I said, I'm thrilled to subscribe to both, because I like having the ability to read it on my computer and have access to it. Cause I'll when I'm customizing, I'll pull up someone else's build and look and see how did they do that? And then, at the same time at night, I've got I just realized I was going to be cool and flash the magazines, but they're upstairs by my bed because I read them at night. The big car culture scene, especially here in the US, it's really siloed. You've got your JDM guys and your tuner guys, and you got your muscle car guys, and you've got your European guys, and never the two shall meet. And, there's all the negative talk that goes back and forth. I'm curious what your experience has been working with the diecast culture versus the full scale culture.
That's a really good point to ask, actually, because the differences are very similar. But we feel with you guys, because you're so diverse and mixed in one, the respect you have as a whole is far greater than the 1-to-1 scale of car owners. That's a given. you have so much respect, and we saw that when we used to reach out to everybody. Everyone's giving each other love. They don't care what they built. It's been very rare we've had one person who may have said something negative, and I thought, well, that's not very often. So it shows that you guys have so much respect no matter what you build. If it's a Hot Wheels, a Matchbox, or the design is completely out there, like some of the Indonesian ones are completely out there than what we do on the west of the world. And so that drew us a lot to that, because we're these kind of people. We like an eclectic mix of people, car culture. That's why we make so many varieties, because we do not care what culture you're in. At the end of the day, if you're not going to respect that person for what they've done, then you need to just drive away. You're not welcome in this, because all you're doing is spreading negativity, and that gets passed on to everyone else. It happens too much in life. So we try to breed a culture from our perspective as a brand that is for Diecast Heroes equally for Superfly Autos, that everyone respects each other's drive, and hopefully start a conversation and realize then the story behind it. That not judging a book by its cover kind of scenario, and then people go, wow, I did not realize that this guy built it this way. We like the spice of life of everything mixed in. It makes more fun, evolves the culture as well.
Yeah. Amen to that. That's what I look for in my collection. Some people give me a little stick because I tend to gravitate toward the obscure stuff. I think people nowadays, with as much time as we spend in front of a screen interacting with bots and message windows, that when you can make contact and a real connection to someone, it doesn't matter if you have a Datsun 510 and I have a 95 Corvette. I like the interaction. I like the connection with the people. And nowadays, especially in our pandemic, that is so much more important than it ever has been. And I saw that also on your launch video when these customizers were getting on, the way their eyes would light up when they would show you their customs. And some of them could have been better, but they were so proud and they were so excited to show. And your reaction when you, talked about their custom and heard the story behind it, it meant so much to the person telling the story. So it's such an important lesson we can apply in all areas of life.
I love, like you said, the you used a dog instead of a person, because this is it's by far the most diverse hobby I've ever been in. You've got people from Indonesia, and there's a builder that I follow who's Jamaican, and you've got people from all over the US and the UK, and Mexico's got this huge diecast scene that, they've got several YouTube channels that are, 500,000-600,000 million subscriber channels. And they're doing their own things, and it's incredible. I want to get some of them on the podcast, and if we have to get an interpreter, we'll get an interpreter, because I want to know what they're doing over there, because I'm seeing some really killer stuff, and they've got an amazing passion and a whole different style. That's one of the things that I love about your pages, is because every page has the person's name, their Instagram handle, and their country. It doesn't feel like a UK magazine. It doesn't feel like an American magazine. It feels like a magazine that's literally for everyone.
I mean, all those ideas stem back. I mean, before I met Carmen, I was massively into things like MTV, Cartoon Network. I'm a guy that loves this eclecticness of so many cool things. And the magazine for me is like, if the magazines have gone downhill, they have because of the internet. If we bring something that's more of a collectible, but has elements of nostalgia, because a lot of the people who are obviously in our community, in the diecast community, are, relatively our age, between 30, 45 years of age, maybe some are younger as well.
50,
but hopefully we can introduce that nostalgia, which everyone loves, back into the mix, and that's what the first issue was really about. So it's just those things. How can we bring a magazine more to life in print than what's been done before? It's just words and an image, and that's all it is. And I love the colorings and the different designs, and I just thought, I'll see what happens when we get this out there and see what people think about it. And then we've just evolved it as time's come along. So we found a company that can at least provide something that's not just a magazine. It's got kind of this book feel paper, because it's a bit more heavy, it's a bit more weighty, doesn't rip like a magazine, and
weighty,
at least allows
like
us. Exactly, that's what we wanted. We didn't want it just to be that, and this one came out in it's a little bit more than A5. It's very similar in size. It's not the big magazine, easier to carry. It's foldable as well. Don't put it in your pocket.
That's it. It was always meant to be, folded and stick in the back of your pocket.
Exactly, because you guys, when you travel, like say when you travel on a plane or you want to go somewhere to read instead of just digital, and to try and get as many pages without it costing too much. And we've just struck the balance, which I think that was okay. But eventually, we do want to go bigger on it. That's the game.
Obviously, there's a couple of hurdles that come now only up that are totally out of our control. Like, for example, the shipping and the postage. Just is like shipping takes forever, and postage has gone through the roof. So you're paying like 3-4 times the magazine's worth for the postage and import, which is ridiculous. Yeah, so the whole European market is off more or less the magazine, which is a huge shame for us. And the original printing house for them, they don't have anybody European based. So it is UK and America and luckily Australia at the moment.
I want to point out really quick that in the US, that isn't the case.
No.
Right now, you do pay a tax. It's wonderful because it's shipped to me from Carrollton, Texas. So I get it usually within 3 or 4 days of it printing. And so if you're listening to this in the US, don't think that like it is, I think I paid maybe $14 or $15 for it, which sounds like a lot. But then you think this is a big magazine, and it is, 90, 95 pages of wall to wall content. And it is worth every penny. These are, investment pieces. If you're into customizing or even just into collecting, there's great articles and stuff. So I just want to put that out there real quick. If anybody's going, oh, well, that sounds really expensive.
We saw people coming to us, oh, do you do digital? And then we saw those hurdles and we're like, okay, well, in this pandemic, a lot of businesses are adapting to new ways of making, their product reachable. So the digital came in place a little bit after, because we had to look at 15, I went through 15 different types of software providers to work out which one is going to give you guys the experience that's needed for this magazine and not cost the earth either for us and also equally for you guys. So we found one which is brilliant. It works fantastic. I know you obviously subscribed as well. And that's part to try and balance until hopefully the shipments for some European countries can be lessened.
Yeah.
And then we just see as time goes on, how can we then improve shipments or how can we improve the cost of the publication? But the other side to add to that, which is important to know, is we've started within the magazine, and whoever's bought it may have seen some articles to do with blockchain technology and the metaverse. We thought this was an important part to bridge to the community.
Yes.
Because going digital in the magazine is a good thing because that can integrate into the metaverse. So just a brief, for anyone who's listening may not know the metaverse. Imagine that your website you have today or your Instagram page is then evolved into a virtual world like a video game, where you may have a virtual garage of all your customs in there, all your collectibles, and you can showcase that to all your fans instead of just seeing how many likes or how many followers you have. That's essentially the web that we are going to. This is the future of the internet. So we've been starting to think, how can we take Diecast Heroes and you guys along with us for the ride to learn more how we can start to evolve more digitally. So we're trying to think of the whole mix to make this Diecast Heroes an experience that's far more than just what we have now.
Which actually goes back to as well, categorizing or having specific genres for each specific feature magazine. So this is the 80s, 90s, the cyberpunk issue with the Matrix, and then going from there, going right into games where you have DH right behind the scene actually playing the video game. So this is leading further on. And from the second one onwards, we actually went into NFTs as well. And we have some amazing creators who created with us some diecast NFTs for their specific diecast. So you can come over to the website and check out all the NFTs that are available. They are like, I can't remember, $3-5 per NFT. And the majority of that goes back to the initial creator of that specific diecast.
Because it's important to get into that world.
Yeah.
We've seen obviously HotWheels have done the same. They've got their NFT garage. And I know it's quite hard for a lot of us, even ourselves, the first to
understand what this is for.
That a lot of things are going to be digitized, and they're saying, well, I can get a screenshot of this image. Why do I want to have what they call the NFT, the non-fungible token? So we thought this community is yet to embrace that. So if we can learn ourselves and try and drip feed a little bit by bit to show how this, alongside doing the physical customization, will be a benefit to us all. And there's more opportunities as well for not only just the hobby, but for monetization for each one of us. Then it's something we're going to do. So
I just wanted to say how nice the magazine portion of it is, like to hold it and have it be tangible in your hands. More so to me than online. I don't really go online to look at most magazines. So there's going to be different demographics, of people that like to go online and look at that stuff. But for me, just like Chuck, I was able to get one of my cars into like Modified magazine, my Lexus ISF, and to me that was like, wow, I have the tangible magazine. I can go back to it. I can read the article again. It says my name, has my Instagram handle or whatever. So I think for like these people that are doing these customs, to have it, their car in there is monumental, and you can't, and it's very important to have that tangible piece, and they can show their grandkids, this magazine. And like, look what I did back when I was 30 or whatever, and it's going to be something that's going to be very, important to them when they're older
right.
too.
You're absolutely right.
It started their love of cars, Hot Wheels, whatever. It started a journey for them, and they can go back and look at it. And I think that's a lot more important than the internet. But I understand there's a lot of cool stuff that's going to be coming through, and there's going to be the younger generation that's going to be more focused on that stuff. And then we have some of the older guys that Chuck and I see in the community that they barely can YouTube, but they're kind of clunking their way around, but they're very passionate about it. So yeah, it's nice to be able to meet both crowds, and I think that's important.
I think this comes back to what I mentioned, or we mentioned earlier as well. It's like from day one, we always try to build bridges. Whether
Yes.
this is building a bridge in between an age bracket, whether this is building bridges in between different genres of cars, where there is possibly a little bit of war going on, whether this is from online to offline, whether this is now from Web 2.0 to Web 3.0, we always build bridges. We don't let easily go of our past, because Tony's saying, this is where we are coming from, this is where our heart is as well. Hence the 80s and 90s genre starting off in the Diecast magazines as well. Nobody needs to follow us straight away into NFTs, but just to know and say, okay, now I'm bumping more and more and more. I know those guys have written about me. Let me go back to it. That is what's important to us. It's like that we are talking, but we are not shoving it in anybody's face. We are just saying, okay, it is here as a piece of reference. Refer back to it whenever you're ready.
Yeah, it can be a very good reference, very great reference for people. So and anything that's helpful to learn or see different things, then of course that's wanted in the community. Sure.
For us, it's about, when you go back to the early 90s when the internet started, so many of us wish we could go back and go, gosh, if I'd have known back then that URL, I'd have bought that, I'd have truly got my feet in there when it started. And we've learned from certain things. So we did Facebook right when it started, so we're early adopters in Facebook, but we could have done YouTube back then, but we were too shy to go on camera, so we just never got involved. And we were shooting video back then, we never did nothing. It's just like, these are the things you go through.
It's still sitting there, some of them actually.
Yeah, and these are the life challenges where you have to just put yourself out of your comfort zone to start to do things. And we've noticed the more we speak, the more people gravitate to us. Pictures are one thing, but then if you can get the face behind, hence why the coffee talks, we try to get each person. Can you send a picture of yourself in your workshop? I want to know your face. I don't want just the workshop. I mean, some have privacy things. That's fine. We'll adhere to that.
Sure.
We want to get people to know their face and hopefully get them out of the comfort zone. And maybe it might adapt in their life and they can move on and do certain things.
I have to admit, we are a little bit pushed into that direction as well. We have no other choice anymore but to look into metaverse and getting a new social experience together, simply because the Web 2.0 social media experiences have let us majorly down, which brings us to the fundraiser we have at the moment as well. or it's actually more like crowd seed funding for the business as a business investment, because our Facebook account was hacked 2 years ago. And due to that fact, yes, we hacked our own accounts back, but we lost our business manager. And because of that, we no longer can advertise. We no longer can actually reach our audience. Even if we want to reach out to people like you on the back end, we can only reach 10 per day. And then we are cut off. And even then, with a couple in, we can no longer attach a link. So it's really incredible. We do not even reach 10% of our audience, and we have 1.4 million followers on Superfly, Facebook, and so we are like cut off. And anybody who is thinking, well, you could reach out to Facebook, there's no chance. I have tried for 3 years. 3 years in, I finally got hold of Facebook, the concierge team, and they said to me, well, we can't do what you want. Yes, we accept that this is your business. You have proven this to us. But because of our privacy, blah, blah. It's immensely frustrating. But instead of biting our teeth in, we said, okay, we have to cut our losses. At one point, when things were still working for us, we reached 18 million per post on Facebook. Wow. That's crazy. Whilst now we are not even, reaching 10 or 20,000. It's like it literally tanked massively.
If I could add to that, it's not just the hack that's really done that. The hack has contributed widely to the issues.
We were part of a larger hack as well. It was not only our account. Facebook is actually facing a lawsuit that like a collective lawsuit.
Class action lawsuit.
Yeah, a class action lawsuit. Because they have done nothing, and they did for a long time not even admit it until people found all the addresses and telephone numbers of people of this hack on the dark web. So caught red-handed.
So not only have we had that issue with the hack, but the algorithm has shifted so much that they've squeezed guys like us into a corner where if you want to reach the audience you've worked for, you've got to pay top dollar. You've just decimated our business overnight.
For us no longer to be able to reach them is literally cutting like our feet off. We can't walk anymore. This has lost us obviously a lot of money, and hence the crowdfunding we are going, the seed funding, because this is our passion. We want to bring more, and we are hip deep, actually more than hip deep, chin deep into connecting with people, into working with people worldwide to establish not only Superfly but also more of Diecast heroes. But what we no longer get out of it is the connection on these established platforms.
Tell us a little bit more about this fundraiser, because you're talking about it being seed money. You're talking about it like an investment, and we kind of see it that way too. But tell us a little bit more about what this fundraiser does, how it's going to help you get to what you need to do, and how long it's going to be going, so people will know how to donate.
Sure. I mean, firstly, just to make things clear from our side, everything we've ever done has been just Carmen and I. We've funded everything that we do. And
there is no other team member. That it's literally just the two of us who are doing everything.
And so when you're into the world, when you're in the world of entrepreneurialism and having your own business, you hear in life that some of these businesses went out to get venture capital, they got fundraising to take their business to the next level. We've never felt comfortable to go out there and say to our community, look, guys, to keep this brand going and also elevating it to a new level of being able to get deeper stories with people around the world, we've come to a position, like Carmen explained, that we never anticipated. We never thought this was going to hit us. I mean, the whole 2 years for everybody, I think, around the world was a shock to the system. And it's affected many of us. So we know there's a lot of people who are affected. Our side, obviously, with Facebook combined, as Carmen explained, it just took things away from us, which, again, we didn't think that these platforms would suddenly, after all this time, 15 years building an audience, just let you take them away from us. And so we have a mission. It's our purpose, our life purpose. And we've never gone out to major investors, but we thought there's a lot of people in our community who do believe in our mission. And we thought, well, if we can find 2,000 passionate car people, whether it's Diecast, whether it's the car community one-to-one, if they contribute something like $80, we reach a goal which will allow us to build the foundations to never be in this possession ever again. And because we built Superfly literally on a shoestring, we did everything to be done in the way that it could be done, even if we couldn't travel that much, or when we do car shoots, we'd have, okay, we've got, like I say, $100 for fuel, but we come out with 20 cars because we just know how to get location scouts, get all the cars, we hang out for the day, and we have so much content that never disappears. Diecast series is the same. Thanks to you guys, you create obviously content too, and we mix it with ours, so it can be done. Even though we are in the position we are today, the magazine still lives. So we did everything we could to get these brands to never crumble, but in order to elevate us where we were going, we were starting in 2018, and then 2019, when everything kicked off, it just literally the last 2 years have been what they were. And so for us, it's like, instead of going to maybe a bigger investor, would the community want to come on a journey with us? And we said 2,000 because we know for people to give money, it's not easy for us to ask number one. To invest in something we have. We're also trying to say it's not too much, and hopefully if 2,000 are willing to join us on this trip, then it'd be amazing. Then we can keep these brands alive and thriving more than they have been in the last 2 years. And it allows us to be back on the road and meet more people, especially in a time right now, because we've always been about those authentic stories. But now the stuff that's going on in the world right now, people need some positive news, man. And whether it is through the car community, and we've had conversations in the past where we talk about life, and then we put that out on YouTube, and people are like, oh my God, this is what I'm like. I went through this. And I'm like, if we can be doing more and more in depth, then hopefully with all the nonsense going on in the world in the news, there's an alternative where you can go, I'm sick and tired of that negativity. I can go into my passion and listen to stories deeper and consume better content. And hopefully that keeps people's mind elevated to another level instead of feeling that the world's just crumbling, because that's what it feels like every day if you watch the news. It's just crazy.
In essence, what it does allow us is, number one, a car which we can actually sleep in as well. Should we not get any house sits, because that's what we are doing at the moment. We are going from house sit to house sit where we are looking after people's animals. That is an up and down since the pandemic, obviously. We were extremely lucky so far, but that is not something we can really rely on. You may be able to get a hotel tomorrow, and the next day you can't. So we have to have something that is a fallback where we don't have to worry, and this would allow us that. Meaning we have more of a consistency. We can actually go back to, okay, let's just focus on creating the next diecast hero. Rather than focus on where are we going next month. I need to focus on finding something where we can have a roof over our head. The rest is something we can deal with as we go along. But that is what it would allow us, basically. The rest, on top of what you see in there, is helping us out with getting new laptops, getting good microphones, which we haven't got at the moment. So podcasts and things like that are easier. Our aim actually is, for every one of our brands, is to be a media outlet for anything that has wheels.
The deeper stories, the cars are really different, and we've got some quirky characters we've met around the world, which we've yet to go and see. And obviously now allows us to meet you guys, to actually travel and meet guys like you and do what we do for the cars with you guys, which we have only done with Chris of Sideways King. And we've always said, we need to find more, and if we can encompass that together, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Well, you're always welcome here. We got an extra guest room. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. If ever we get back over to America and are allowed to travel, yes.
And we want to. Trust us, we want to. We love your country.
Yeah.
We want to be back.
On the fundraiser, it says you're looking for 2,000 folks to donate 60 pounds.
Which is
that's
equivalent to
$83 US.
Yeah.
And I was talking it over with the guys, and it was funny. I was like, I think I'm going to donate this on behalf of the podcast. And they were like, we're already in. Like, they were like, yeah. I was like, okay.
He's like, no. We're like, we're doing it.
Yeah, they were like, too late. Here's the money. I was like, oh,
Thank you.
But yeah, so we just donated. We believe in what you do and this amazing community that we have. And to feel, because let's face it, it's a lonely hobby. There's not, you're not, bringing this up around the dinner table and, I love tiny cars. Going, you're 40 years old and you like tiny cars.
Cool.
Okay.
Anyways.
Yeah. Cool story, bro.
Cool story, bro. Anyways, back to work. I think we can all agree that diecast cars make us feel like kids again. It's one of those, and same with cars too. Cars bring back those memories. But when I really got into diecast, and you find that car that you've been looking for a while, you heard about, you find it on the shelf, it brings you that nostalgia, that feeling of like childhood joy, like Christmas time. You know, you find it, and there's not many things that bring you that at certain stages of your life. Because I always talk about this on my podcast and stuff. You got bills, you have adult things to deal with all day long, your work and all that stuff. And that's why I don't like drama on like my page or podcast or whatever. I don't need that negativity there, because we come there to get away from a lot of that stuff, to have a common bond and passion. And when people come in and try to tear you down, I'm like, on my, YouTube page, I'm not going to allow it. I'll talk to somebody, and especially if they want to take it off, email me and talk to me or whatever. But it's a place where we go as a community to help encourage each other and build each other up and learn new things and just experience it together. So I think what you guys are doing with the magazine and everything makes you feel like a kid again. And that's something you can't pay for. There's no amount of the money in the world you can pay to get to feel like a kid again.
The great resignation where so many people are not going back to work anymore because there's more opportunity. The pandemic has opened their eyes to working from home, spending time with family, the children. And so we want to be more free again. This is a big thing right now. And I think all of us deserve that freedom. Blockchain is part of that on the digital side. But I think once we get through all this nonsense going on, there's going to be more connection than I think we've ever experienced in our lifetime. Yeah. And it's going to be freaking amazing. That's why collaboration is going to go through the roof. And I think what you guys are doing right now with this podcast is freaking amazing. The more we can do this, the better. The more change we can have.
Definitely. With every time we are starting a new sequence, putting out to the community, this is the next magazine subject, build something, do something in this or this category. And it's that rallying almost, where people really, really find their feet and say, I want to do this and I want to do that. And they tell us even, or copy us into sneaky little photos on the DMs. And this is really heartwarming for us. And we ourselves, we have to be careful with that as well. We were so disappointed that we had a cold over the last months that literally put us flat on our bottom, and we couldn't do anything, meaning that next magazine, the fourth magazine, will be delayed. We are kicking ourselves that we are delayed for everyone in the community, but at the same time we said, well, what else were we supposed to do? If we would have worked through that, it would have taken us even longer to recover. So the next magazine was supposed to be coming out on the 28th of December. It has to be delayed. We are really, really sorry. End of January. We are really, really sorry for that, but
it's good.
You guys got to take care of yourselves,
We'll
you guys got to take care of yourselves, So, yeah, I mean, I think one of the things...
I'm sure the community understands.
Yep,
we
do.
hope so too.
Yeah, got to take care of number one. Yep.
Yeah, thank you. But it's all good on track. We have everyone entered. The entries look amazing, and we can't wait to bring it out to you guys again.
I just remembered I need to send you my headshots for this one. I want to remind everyone that the fundraiser is going through January 10th of 2022. So please get on there. We will have the link in the description and the show notes of our podcast. Please go check it out. Tony, Carmen, this is incredible. We would love to have you on again and talk about the progress. And, we had so many questions that we wanted to get to that we didn't even get to today, but I could literally spend all day hanging out and talking with you. So thank you so much. Again, if you want to tell people, I think we've said it a million times, but where can they find you, follow you, all that good stuff? Yeah,
of course. So obviously we have a website, diecastheroes.com. So if you want to check out all the latest builds on there. Obviously on Instagram as well, which is diecast.heroes. And for Superfly, for the one-to-one customs, it's Superfly_autos on Instagram, and Superfly Autos obviously on Facebook. And if you type into Google search engine Superfly Autos, you'll also find some videos there of vlogs that we've done over the past 5 years.
I appreciate you guys, all you do, the insane amount of effort that goes into make a magazine, the content, and how gracious you guys are in helping the community grow and become tighter and branching out too. So I think what you guys are doing is amazing. Keep up, good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's appreciated, but it's you guys have inspired us. What you guys are doing is what allows us to bring this forward. So it's like we said,
it's a give and take.
100%. It is a community magazine. It's not just us two. We may have had the thought. What we want to do is make this more community as we grow, and just keep creating amazing customs. Because every time I'm seeing, I'm like, I wish I could post more because there's just so many of you guys out there. I'm always trying to screenshot everything I see on Instagram to try and reshare. And you guys have evolved so much over the last 7 years. We've seen you build, and the things coming out now, I'm just blown away. So I can't wait to see what else goes on. It's amazing. Keep
you'll see some cool stuff. I mean, I think people are starting new stuff all the time. I started doing polishing. I don't even know why, but I just started polishing the crap out of cars, and I love it. So I just 9 stages of polishing. So you'll see more from me.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Tony and Carmen. I thank you so much for sharing.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
So we're wishing you the absolute best of luck. And, if there's anything our side we can do, just let us know, and we'll be in touch.
Brilliant. Thanks for inviting us on. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to all you guys. It's been amazing. So thanks again.
No problem.
That was a fantastic interview. Loved talking with them. What you didn't see is Mark and I ended up sticking around for, what was it, like an hour and a half afterwards?
Yes, or more.
And just talked with them. They are wonderful people. I know it took them overcoming a lot of pride to do this fundraiser. I think it's a good cause. I think that they seem like really good people. I know money is tight for everyone right now to invest in the dream. We were more than happy to put our money together and invest in it. So so please check them out. We'll have links in the description and in the show notes to check them out. Their fundraiser is going until January 10th. Please check that out. And we're hopeful that things will clear up and they can get over here stateside and we can hang out with them in person.
That would be awesome.
So
I thoroughly enjoyed talking to the both of them, and they're great people, a great cause. I think they have the same mindset as the three of us do, to spread the love of automotive, helping others, and diecast, of course, because I think everybody that's a car person can easily get sucked into the diecast world. Because if you love cars, there's a good chance you're going to love diecast. And they get that. So they come from the automotive build game, and they've met a lot of cool people and have a lot of great friends. And I'm glad to be a new friend to them. So it was an incredible interview. It's really fun.
Yeah, said. And they're just those people that we all meet them all the time. When you meet somebody and you know that what you see is what you get, it's refreshing. And Tony and Carmen, your authenticity rings so true and loud. It's just a pleasure to meet you.
Absolutely.
We are definitely going to have them back on the show soon to update us on the progress, and we want to follow their journey as well, along with Diecast Heroes. If you haven't checked that out yet, it's a fantastic magazine. If you are into customizing, it is definitely a must have. I'm finding new builders all the time on there from Instagram and YouTube and wherever. And it's got some great articles, even if you're not a customizer and you just enjoy the art of customizing and the great literal art that people are coming up with. And there's articles from Mike Zarnock in there and Larry Wood and of course Fireball Tim, and the content on these things is incredible. That's going to wrap things up for us here. I want everyone to make sure that they compliment David on his good hair day.
And the festive shirt. Can we talk about the shirt really quick? It's just so fitting. It looks soft. I'll give him that.
So
Go on.
Yeah.
No, we're done.
Anyway. Yeah, that's it. That's your one compliment for the day, David. Kind of savor it, make it last. But yeah, that's going to do it for us here. Again, thank you so much for sticking around. Please rate us 5 stars on your favorite podcasting app. Leave a like, comment, all that fun stuff. Email us at diecastbreakdown@gmail.com. Ask us some questions. Tell us your thoughts. Tell us what we got wrong. Tell us what you'd like to see in a future episode. Recommend some guests. And of course, as always, share us with your friends who also share the love of Diecast. That is the best way to help support what we do. Absolutely. Again, thank you so much on behalf of myself and the gentlemen that are seated
Sitting next to me.
And you were on a roll. You were just
I was
flowing.
doing so well.
Killing
I was
it.
doing so well. I know. A little humility drop in my thing. All right. So, on behalf of myself and the gentlemen seated all across this great nation that have joined me today, thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
See you later.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys.